The theme of today's John 4:4 experience is the Lord of Lords. And they took it from Revelation chapter 19, verse 16. Revelation 19, verse 16. Which says simply that he wore a jacket. I'm trying to paraphrase. And the jackets are this inscription: the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Some translations will say the jacket actually covered his tie. From scriptures, the Bible actually tells me that men and God himself is known by the garment they wear. When Jesus was about to be crucified, the Bible says he wore a garment that was seamless. I think you'll see it in all the Gospels. But when you read John chapter 19, you'll actually see, I think 24 and 25, John chapter 19, wearing their garments. And that's why we are being encouraged to always wear the garment of praise. Garments in scriptures speaks volume. But today we are talking about the Lords of Lords. When you read Luke chapter 6, maybe that's where I want to take it from, verse 46. Jesus speaking and said, if really I'm actually Lord, it's not just Lord, it's actually Lord of Lords. Why don't you do the needful? I'm paraphrasing. Why don't you do the needful? Who is the Lord? And who is actually the Lord of Lords? A Lord simply means someone that you submit to. Someone that his word is final. That's what it means. I could take it from anywhere. The Bible says that actually Sarah calls the husband Lord because why? The husband's words was final. Even in the courts, when you go to a court of law, people call the judge my Lord because why? Within that space, his word is final. His word is final. I'll actually just tell you 3 examples about who the Lord of Lords is. As I said, I really do not want to talk much. A few minutes, I'll be done. When God actually was in Acts chapter 9, God encountered a man that believed he was Lord, that once his word must be the final. His name was actually Saul. You know why that I know that what? He believed that his words was always should be the law. It's because God actually was come to meet man in their own spare. When you read Acts chapter 9, I think from verse 2, you read downwards. The Bible says, when the light shone upon Saul, and the first thing he could actually say, my Lord. My Lord. And what happened? When you encounter the Lord, there must be a bowing. The Bible says he fell to his face on the ground. There must be a bowing. You must actually fall down to your face when the Lord comes to your space. I'll tell you one other one that baffled me. Do you know when you read 1 Samuel chapter 5, 1 Samuel chapter 5, the story was actually the story of what? The ark. That God came to the space of one idol called Dagon. And Dagon needed to fall to his face. You know why? God just wanted to explain to the Philistines. Do you know what they called the Philistines kings? They said they were the lords of the Philistines. 1 Samuel chapter 5. It fell down flat. It fell down flat. I'm taking this bit by bit. Should I also tell you one? When you read 2 Kings chapter 7, there was a man that the Bible calls, he was a lord. And God actually just wanted to show him that what? He's a Lord of Lords. 2 Kings chapter 7, from verse 1 also. Or you can read 2 Kings chapter 6, the last few verses. The Bible makes me understand. They said, after Elisha has spoken, the Lord actually came and said, you can't speak this way because you are not the Lord that has the final say. As I said, who is the Lord? Is the one that his words is final. Is the one that his words is final. And he said, no, you can't. He said, even if what? God would open the windows, it can't happen. And the Bible actually said what? The one that was called the Lord of Lords, the one that always wears the jackets, that is labeled with a title called the Lord of Lords, spoke and said, don't worry, you see. You would also fall to the ground. You'd also fall to the ground. I just come this evening. I gave 3 examples. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. He said, in the mount of 2 or 3 witnesses, a word is actually established. I'd come this evening because it is themed the Lord of Lords to make this appeal. That when worshiping God, your heart must be on the ground. It is not your body, your heart. It is not your posture, your heart. Because it's the one that has the final say. And whenever he comes to your space, what he expects is your heart on the floor. How do I know? When you read Revelation from chapter 1 to chapter 16, you'll actually see the story. Why when he came, even the 24 elders, they fell to the ground. I just want us, in the next few minutes, just to worship God with our hearts before the throne of grace and mercy. As I said, it wasn't that I came to preach. It wasn't that I just came to just encourage. Because at the back there, all what I said now was actually all was going through my head. The Lord of Lords. What God actually expects, what he expects of us. As when Jesus actually told the people, if you call me Lord, if you call me the Lord of Lords, what I expect is the needful. What I expect is the needful. What is the needful? It's actually to worship him. He said he created us for his pleasure. He said, surprisingly, the one that created us for his pleasure said he's actually seeking for those that will worship him in truth and in spirit. What is actually worship? Worship simply means devoting yourself of yourself in the presence of one that is all and all. That's what it simply means. Pouring out yourself. You know why they call David a worshiper? 2 Samuel chapter 6, he was bringing the ark. He was a king of Israel. He was a king that was a warrior. He was a king that had done all. But when he came to the one that was called the Lord of Lords, he considered himself as nobody. Please, I want us to rise to our feet. I actually want you to, it's not your crown. I'm not bothered that way about your crown. I'm not. I'm not bothered about your posture either. I'm not. I'm not bothered about what you say with your mouth, because sometimes what we say with our mouth is not actually what is in our hearts. I'm not bothered about that. Even God is not even bothered. But actually, God is actually bothered about what? The intents of your hearts.